Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Last year was one of the best Group of 5 races we have ever seen. In the first year of the 12-team playoff, we knew that the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion was going to make the college football playoff. And typically, in years past, there's always been one team that's kind of been above the rest. That was not the case in 2024. Boise State ultimately ended up getting that title behind the Heisman campaign and the Heisman caliber season from Ashton Jeanty, but UNLV was one win away in the Mountain West Championship from being that Group of 5 representative. Army was in the mix, starting 9-0 and winning the American Athletic Conference in their first year as a member. Now there are a handful of teams that can compete for that spot in 2025, but who will it be? That's what we're here to talk about today. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. Already looking forward to the 2025 season to see who that Group of 5 team could be that makes the college football playoff. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, home to our newsletters, home to all this exclusive content over there to help you become a member of our GE Nation so you don't miss out on any content all year long. There's no football on for a very, very long time, but there will be tons of football content coming your way here at our channel all year long. So do not miss out. Subscribe, hit that notification button, and just take it all in with us as a member of our team. So let's jump into this. I got 4 teams I want to talk about today. And again, who knows who it could be, right? But I think these are the 4 front runners in my eyes that can make a run to the college football playoff in 2025. And we'll start with the reigning champs in a way, Boise State. The team that made the college football playoff this last year was so good the Broncos actually got a bye. Did not play in the opening round and then ultimately fell to Penn State in the Fiesta Bowl. Yes, they lose Ashton Jeanty. That's a big, big loss. But their quarterback, Maddox Madsen, does return, and they have tons of talent on both sides of the ball outside of him. Boise went 11-1 in the regular season last year. The only loss coming by 3 points on the road to Oregon back in the second week of the season. They did beat Washington State by 21 points. They beat UNLV on the road by 5. They beat Oregon State by 16, and then beat UNLV again by 14 in the Mountain West Championship game. What this comes down to for all the teams we're going to talk about today and for all the teams competing for this spot in 2025, it comes down to strength of schedule, right? That's why a team like Liberty, now Liberty lost a handful of games, but a team like Liberty probably would not have made the college football playoff despite going undefeated. If Liberty had gone undefeated in 2024, they probably would not have gotten in over a team like Boise State or UNLV or an Army because the Conference USA was so weak. Who these teams play, especially in the non-conference, matters so much in their hopes to make the college football playoff. Boise State had that resume last year. They were the best team by far. They had quality wins. Their only loss was by a team that was the number 1 overall seed in the playoff, and they only lost by 3 points. They were a dang good football team. Now, during this next year, they've got a lot of opportunities to bolster that strength of schedule, win a few of those games, and get back in the hunt to make it. They go to USF, they play App State, they play at Notre Dame, and they host UNLV. If they go 11-1 again with their lone loss to Notre Dame, and considering that game's close, Boise State's back. Boise State goes back to the college football playoff. Undefeated, absolutely in. 2 losses, that's where it could get interesting. Maybe they lose to Notre Dame and USF, Notre Dame and UNLV. Who knows who it could be? Would make things a little bit interesting depending on what the rest of the country does. But Boise State does have quality non-conference opponents on their schedule. If they can take care of business, will bolster that resume and maybe propel them to another playoff spot. But in the Mountain West as well, they have to compete against UNLV and their new head coach, Dan Mullen, leaving the broadcast booth to become a head coach again, has not coached since his days at Florida about 4 or 5 years ago. This is a solid team, though. Barry Odom did not lead the cupboard bare, right? He did a great job with the Rebels. Now he's off to Purdue, but he left Dan Mullen a lot to work with, including a star dual-threat quarterback in Hajj Malik Williams. Now, UNLV, we talk about their strength of schedule. They've got it. They go on the road to Sam Houston, a Sam Houston team that won 10 games last year. They play UCLA, which is a very winnable game. They go on the road to Miami, Ohio, who won 9 games last year and was the MAC runner-up. And they play at Boise State and at Colorado State. A lot of very difficult road games for UNLV this year and a lot to ask for a first-year coach. But while you look at that and go, wow, that's just a Conference USA team, a MAC team, really only one power opponent they've got to play, the fact that the group of 5 teams in the non-conference that are playing are good and could challenge for a conference championship helps the Rebels out a lot. Sam Houston will be no slouch. Miami, Ohio will be no slouch. Obviously, Boise and Colorado State, no slouch. And as we mentioned, they get to host UCLA, and that is a winnable game. So this is a game or a season for UNLV where I really feel like they need to sweep the non-conference to have a shot to go to the playoff, or at least if they're going to lose, only lose to UCLA, and then find a way to redeem themselves against Boise State. This is an opportunity where UNLV, kind of similar to last year, could find themselves with a multi-loss team entering the Mountain West Championship. But if they can get revenge over Boise State or just win the conference championship as a whole, they'd have a very good case to make the playoffs. So a lot on the line for UNLV, and they'll be one of the more intriguing group of 5 teams heading into this year because of Dan Mullen being in his first year with the program. Let's talk about Army for a second. I got so much respect and just praise for Army and what Jeff Monken did in 2024. Taking a team that was, 6-6 in 2023, really just was hoping to get to a bowl game, leaves the Independence, goes to the American Athletic Conference. Nobody saw Army doing what they did in 2024, right? Nobody saw it. No one saw Bryson Daly finishing, 6th in the Heisman voting. It was an unbelievable year for the Black Knights. But more than likely, Army is not going to be able to replicate their, 12-win season from last year. It's probably not going to happen. And the reason why is because their schedule is 10 times tougher than what we saw in 2024. Army was still a bit of a stretch. Despite their, 9-0 start, was a bit of a stretch to make the college football playoff. We knew if they really wanted to make it, they had to beat Notre Dame, and that just wasn't going to happen. They got destroyed by the Fighting Irish, just like Notre Dame also destroyed Navy in last year as well. But this is a team in Army that, while they play very hard, they're very, very physical, does lose their star quarterback Bryson Daly. That's a huge loss. And they have a tough road game at Kansas State early in the year on September 6th. That game has to be a win if Army wants to have a shot at the playoff. Has to be. People will be talking about Army. They deserve to be talked about, but if they can't beat Kansas State, they probably can go ahead and kiss their playoff hopes goodbye, because that's really the tough non-conference game that could help bolster their resume. Now, they could run the table in the American Conference, no doubt about it, but they have to go to ECU, which is picking up some steam, at Tulane, at UTSA, at Air Force, which is, of course, non-conference, and, of course, Navy. So a lot of very difficult road games on there for the Black Knights, on top of that Kansas State game as well. In 2024, as we mentioned, their toughest non-conference game was Notre Dame. They lost that game by 35 points. Yes, they beat Tulane in the American Championship by 21 points, but this American Conference, while it is improving, is certainly not what it used to be with teams like UCF and Cincinnati and Houston and guys like that. So they really need to beat Kansas State to open the eyes of the committee, open the eyes of the nation. Say Army starts 2-0, 3-0 with that win over the Wildcats in Manhattan. Then we're taking them seriously. We're saying if they can run the table in the American, they would have a very good chance to challenge Boise State, UNLV, or whoever it may be for that college football playoff spot. And then finally, we will talk about Tulane, because I believe they deserve to be talked about. We're a couple of years removed from Tulane being the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion, from making the Cotton Bowl and upsetting USC. This is still a team that I expect to be very, very competitive, but they've got to figure out their quarterback position as well. Tulane has the best schedule for a team that can make the college football playoff. And what I mean by that is it's not favorable, but it's still so many tough games that if they can win one or two of those games, they don't have to go undefeated to make the playoff. If they can steal a couple of these games where they're going to be underdogs, they would have a maybe stronger resume and more quality wins than Boise, UNLV, Army, teams like that. But of course, Tulane would have to win those games and then win their conference. They went 7-2 in the American last year, 9-5 overall. They only lost by 7 points to Kansas State. They only lost by 15 points to Oklahoma. They lost by 10 to Memphis in the finale, and that ultimately started a 3-game losing streak for Tulane. They lost to Memphis, lost to Army, and then got destroyed by Florida. But now we enter 2025. They play a lot of quality teams. They play Northwestern. They play at South Alabama, which is no slouch out of the Sun Belt. They play Duke, who will now be led by Darian Mensah, who was the quarterback for Tulane in 2024. No, the Green Wave will love nothing more than to beat their former quarterback. They play at Ole Miss. They play at Memphis, and of course play Army. I think they could still be a playoff contender with 2 losses. Let's say they lose to Ole Miss, and let's say they lose to, let's say they lose to Duke. Duke and Ole Miss, 2 teams that were very, very good last year, actually played each other in their bowl game last year. That's it. But they beat Northwestern. That's a power program. They beat South Alabama, who could go bowling next year. They beat Memphis on the road. They beat Army. they've got the strength of schedule to say, hey, yeah, they've got 2 losses, but if those losses are close, those aren't the end of the world because they're not bad losses by any means. So I do believe Northwestern, South Alabama, and Duke are very beatable for Tulane. You win those games, only lose to Ole Miss, run the table in the American, they've got an opportunity to make that college football playoff. So they have the toughest schedule by far of the 3 teams that we mentioned when it comes to the opponents they play, but they have the most opportunities there as well to bolster that resume and maybe to make this a race that isn't even close if Tulane can just take care of business against the tougher opponents. So it's going to be fun, guys. We're talking about these 4 teams. There could be someone else that comes out of nowhere. I don't think any of us thought Army would be in this discussion at this time last year. I don't think a few years ago people thought Liberty could be that team. I'm sure a few years ago people didn't think Tulane could be that team. Every year there's always a surprise team, someone that comes out of nowhere that makes that push for a conference title, makes that push for a playoff spot. And I expect we'll see something like that again in 2025. But these, to me, are the top 4 contenders. Right now, I do believe it's Boise State's to lose. I think from a talent and roster perspective, Boise State has the edge over all these teams. But anything can happen on any given Saturday in any given season. 2024 absolutely taught us that. Assume nothing in the world of college football. I've got Boise right now. That could certainly change before the season starts. But one thing's for sure, this group of 5 race for that college football playoff spot, only one, is going to be very, very close and very, very fun. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, home to our newsletters, home to so much exclusive content for you to take advantage of. Join in, watch it, indulge, just get it all, man. Get it all, because we want you to become a member of our GE Nation. We want you to enjoy the college football content we've got for you year-round. When there's nothing on the TV, this can be your home for college football until the season starts. And we hope that by that point, you ride with us all year long, because I can promise you're not going to want to miss it. So once again, guys, we thank you so much for watching. Sign up for everything. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification button. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.